All right, so there are the two domino holes. Hey guys, Brad here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Festool, and particularly the DF 500 Q set. This is a sweet little tool. This is the domino, and I'm just going to kind of run you through this tool, and we're going to do a little bit of dominoing, and I'll show you how to do a connection. So we're not going to get into all the other parts that come with this kit. That'll be another video because there's just so much here. I don't want to go on for an hour, so we're just going to break it up. But there are lots of other attachments in here, which we'll get into in the future. Okay, so dominoes are basically these little wood tenons, if you will, and they are used for joinery. So it's kind of like a biscuit joiner, except in my opinion, it's way better than a biscuit joiner because number one, it's stronger wood. I think they're using beech wood. And number two, they are more accurate and stronger. You just get a better hole. Just overall, easier to use. I like them a lot more. Every time I've used the biscuit joiner, it's just a little sloppy. You know, it moves around. You still have to clamp it really, really well. Whereas the domino, it's quite deadly. The fit is snug. So I really like the domino. So we're going to get into it here. All right. So the tool itself, like all Festool, it's got the dust collection. Most important thing about this certain unit is that you have to run it with the dust collection. If you run this without dust collection, the wood chips can kind of build up and you can kind of damage your tool. So you have to have a vacuum hooked up to this. And we're going to use the Festool vacuum. Now, you can pull this whole assembly apart, and I'm going to do that. Just gonna, this button right here, pull this up, and it releases this front section. All right. Now, this is the motor. This is the business end right here. And the way this works is it oscillates back and forth as well as turns. So you get this nice, tight fitting slot that will fit these dominoes. So that's how this works. Now to change this out, there's a button on the side which will lock this in place. Then you just put a wrench on here and you can undo this and you can put in a larger cutter for larger dominoes. And down the road we're going to get into showing you how to do that. But that's basically the gist of it, is just press this button and then undo it here. All right, just like a router bit. Now with domino stuff, or sorry, Festool stuff, everything that's green does something. So this is your power switch. Basically just push it forward and it goes on, then pull it back, and that's how you turn it off. Very simple. This selector right here decides on sort of the slop in your domino hole, and that would be if my this first one here, this first mark is my tight domino hole, so it'll fit exactly to this size of this domino. Now if I go up to this notch, it gives a little bit of space on either side, and I'll show you when we do a cut. And then when I go to the third option, it'll do even a larger space. So the reason it's nice to have that is so that when you're joining, if you need a little bit of wiggle room just to maneuver your material, you can do that. It won't make it wider in this direction, but it makes it wider in this direction only. Okay, it's always tight here. There are zero adjustments for making this bigger this way, unless you were to change out the bit and put a larger bit in and then use a smaller domino. But there's no real reason for doing that. And then on the side, we have our depth of adjustment. So I've got it set to 15 mils. So that basically means it's going to cut 15 mils in. and then I would cut 15 mils in on the other piece. So a total of 30 mils. And these ones right here, you can kind of make it out. These are 5 by 30s. So putting it on the 15 means this domino will work. Now to adjust this, you just move this green lever down, 20 mil, 25, 28. So basically you're just doubling it. 50 mil domino, 56, that's a 40, that's a 30, and so on. Okay, so we're going to keep it on, I'm just going to turn this so I can see what I'm doing. Keep it on 15. Power goes on the back. It's got the twist lock. And that is it. Now, this piece, this is where we do all of our fine tuning. So on the side right here, we flick this lever up. It allows us to drop our table. Now our table, you can see there's all these degrees on the side with all these holes. These holes are presets. Okay. So we can easily just get into, you know, 45 degrees, 30 degrees, no problem, 10 degrees, and so on. So very easy for kind of setting up quickly. And then on this side, we've got another lever. Release that. That pulls our table up and down. All right. And when we do that, there is some presets here as well. This is for sort of your thickness of material, 20 mil, 22, all the way up to 40. So they've got these little notches in here that just sort of correspond. You can see the connection. All right. And so we're going to be using 20 mil today. And then you just lock that down. And that's it. Very easy. On the top in here, this is sort of where you line up your work. So I'm just going to put a piece of wood in here so maybe you can see it. If I want to put my domino in right there, you can kind of line it up with these lines. Okay, that's your cut line. And then you've got some metric dimensions on the side here, 10, 20, 10, 20 on either side. So you can kind of do repetitive cuts and you know where to go or whatever you're doing. It's very, very easy. So put this back in, it just slides in these rods. I want to be very careful. And you just push and it's locked. Okay, now we're in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I would put dominoes in a pre-finished material. So this is just some casing that we have. I've already mitered it and 45 degrees. Okay. So what I always do if I'm using pre-finished material is I'll grab some tape and you can just put it on either side. Okay, we're just going to do this quick and dirty. All right. So then you line up your work. Now, wherever I want to put a domino, sometimes if you're just getting into this, you might want to actually physically place your domino, you know, where you might want them. And then maybe give yourself just a little tick. Because if you come out too far, you might, you know, end up encroaching on the outer edges of your work, and that's not good. So right here, it doesn't need to be perfect, just right here, you carry that line right through. And then same here, carry that line right through. So now I've got lines. I'm going to put a domino in this section and another hole here, another hole like this, another hole like this. And they will be inserted, but these are my center lines, okay? So next step will be to plug this in. We want to hook up the vacuum. Right there. And we want to hook up our power in the back. and it's hooked up to the Festool vacuum. So as soon as I turn this tool on, the vacuum's going to start sucking immediately. All right. So then a lot of the times when I'm doing this with this type of material, I'll use my vacuum clamp, but for this quick demo, we're not going to use the vacuum clamp, but it would essentially allow me to be higher up so I could do this. But just bear with me. I'm going to do it on the side here. And so I'm just going to hold it, and actually let's clamp it, make it a little easier. Okay. Let's take a clamp like this. Now, if I'm using pre-finished material, I probably wouldn't put a clamp on it just because I'm always nervous of marring it or whatever. That's why I have my vacuum clamp. But this allows me to kind of work on my material over here. And because I have it set on 20 mils, I'm a little bit high, so I can't just cut it on the table. There's some room in there. So it'll screw up where I want the domino to be height-wise. So that's why I got to keep the edge off the table. All right. So here we go. So when you're holding it, you can hold it with your hand like this. You line it up, and you line up the center line, and you just plunge. You want to make sure that your table is nice and flat. We lock it in place. I line up the center line on my pencil line. I turn it on, and then I make the plunge. And I want to keep the pressure down here as well as holding it here. So I'm kind of doing a couple different things, making sure that I'm doing this right. All right, so there are the two domino holes. And as you can see, they just slip right in, just like that. And there's zero play, okay? They're not gonna move side to side. So now I'm gonna switch to the middle one where it's gonna give me a little bit more play so I could adjust this left to right. Because if I'm off on my line by a 1/2 millimeter, it could put my casing off that much. So this side we just do a little bit bigger, so we've got some room to adjust back and forth. So I'm going to clamp this side. And one thing I'll note, this blue tape is a little hard to see my lines, so I usually use a green tape, but you get the idea. All right, so now turn it on. Okay, so this side, just pull them out. You can see the difference. Okay, there's a domino in the tight section, and there's one in the loose section. So a little bit of room, lots of room for glue, but this will allow me to slide these together. All right, I'll take this tape off. Okay, so now if I have to, I have some movement to move this side back and forth so I can get my casing deadly perfect. Now this miter isn't the greatest cut. I just banged it out real quick, but you can see that you can get that perfectly flush and nice and tight with no problem at all. The reason I like using dominoes for casing sometimes is because of our weather here in Alberta, the constant humidity issues that we have. The wood is it's moving all the time, right? And if you've, if you're doing a $1 million house, like this stuff was done on, it's actually a $3 million house, you just can't risk having your miters pop, having your glue joints come apart or whatever. It's just not an option. So taking that extra step when biscuit joining or using Dominos really takes you up to that level where you should be professionally if you're building these multi-million-dollar homes. So that's why I love the Domino. It just ensures that my product is going to be deadly. So that's why I love the Domino, and there's so many other reasons why someone should have this if they're a carpenter and they're doing lots of, fancy homes or furniture. If you're doing lots of furniture, I would expect you probably already have this, and you probably know more about it than I do. So it's just such a great tool to have. We're going to bring out some more videos about it. The Domino kit, that'll be coming soon, as well as all the attachments that we can put on this and sort of show you how to speed up your productivity and doing different little jobs and things like that. So that's all coming down the pipe. But yeah, if you liked the video, guys, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Are you into Festool? Do you think it's too expensive? Is it worth the money? Let me know. And subscribe, hit that notify bell. Give me a thumbs up if you'd like. And until next time, keep on crushing it. We'll catch you later.